Talk Live, hosted by David Thomas, Bill Anderson, and Kenny Parker. Brought to you by First Bank of Shelbyville. And Kincaid Service Company. Let's talk some sports. Here are your hosts, David Thomas, Bill Anderson, and Kenny Parker.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Bedford County Sports Talk Live. I'm David Thomas, Mr. Bill Anderson,
in the
Kenny Parker.
In the honor of
who is this guy?
In the honor of Coach Robbie Davis, who wears orange.
Yeah, wear orange. Well, I do it in honor of Coach Parker. Wear the Tennessee orange in honor of him.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen him wear orange.
You won't.
Have you?
It wasn't that.
It's not this shade of
orange.
orange. Little burnt orange.
It was burnt.
Okay.
They call it bright orange.
Bright orange.
Is that what it's called?
Okay, bright
orange?
orange. Okay. Well, that don't count. That's not Tennessee
it's not,
orange.
it's not this shade.
But that's a different.
I'm not going
that's
to
a good.
What we call that shade of orange.
Well, that's that's a good kind of orange in
That's
Cascade too.
Mhm.
So, all right, before we dive into some sports talk, let's take.
So you can see the difference.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a contrast. Yeah.
Before we dive in, let's thank our sponsors, First Bank here in Shelbyville and Kincaid
Service
Company.
where service is their middle name. Let's take a break, hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Kincaid Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Okay, welcome back into Bedford County Sports Talk Live, and Mr. Bill Anderson has some scores from us from championship football, high school football.
The big one was Sevier County and Page, guys. I mean, Sevier County is big. I watched the whole game. They beat Page 27-20, and they blocked the field goal at the end of the first half and ran it back for a touchdown. Went from 10-7, 17-7, and that kind of set the tone in that game.
Play of the game.
It really did.
Yeah.
It's strange that Page had made a living off those special team blunders by others, and it actually burned them in this case.
Years ago when I was coaching, I went to a coaching clinic at UT, and they had a coach from Sevier County. His name was Brewer, and he had a quarterback that played there. Went on to play at UT. They played pretty good football. And Matthews.
Steve
Matthews.
Well, Steve's Tullahoma.
Yeah.
No, Steve's Tullahoma, left hand.
There was a Matthew.
Yeah, he played. They've always had some pretty good teams up there at Sevier. I think they're the
Smoky Bears.
The Smoky Bears won.
Yeah.
I didn't
Smoky
think
Bears.
that Page been there 4 years in a row.
Five.
Is it
Lost
five?
every time. No,
Lost every time. Buffalo Bills.
Oh my gosh.
And the opposite of that would be Alcoa, who beat Westview 40-21, and that is their 10th straight
In a row?
in a row.
In a
10
row.
years
10
in a row.
I know. I heard on the radio, Coach Creasy at Oakland goes today. This is their 5th one in a row.
It is.
And I heard Ingle Martin talking. This was the 4th win in the last 7 years.
Wow. Well, that high school football is winding down. Who we got today, Bill? What else did you have
Well, you
last
just
night?
had Mace, which is that Memphis Arts
Yeah.
Academy y'all were telling me about. Beat South Pittsburgh 36-14. They win it. Marion County and Milan. That ought to be a good game.
Yeah.
Milan's good. Marion County's good.
First game is Macon County and
Melrose.
Melrose, and then Marion County. Of course, I ran the chains. They played at Cascade. Yeah, they could play.
Oakland and Houston.
Oakland,
And then
Houston's
Oakland
the other
and
one.
Houston. And Houston won it last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they beat.
Rematch.
This is a rematch.
Rematch.
Interesting. Melrose, for example. Don't y'all remember when they were a big AAA school?
Oh, yeah. Monsters.
Now they're a 3A.
They were really big in
Hey,
basketball.
wait a second.
Huge basketball.
AAA and
Pearl
3A
Cone,
is the same. AAA and 3A is the
I
same.
remember
Oh,
Pearl
yeah.
Cone was a
But
big
that's
school.
That's when
Yeah.
AAA was the big.
Right.
Man, a lot of things changed in sports in our lifetime, guys. In high school sports, the way things have. I mean, our state has been inundated with people coming in these schools. Look at Rutherford County. I mean, it was Oakland and Riverdale when I was in high school.
Right.
That was it. Now look at it. Unbelievable what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then over in
Population
Williamson
is-
County,
it's-
it's just exploding.
And it's not going to slow down.
Well,
It's not going. It's the pyramid effect. It's
But
the
it is.
pyramid effect.
Coach Robbie Davis is the one that told me this too, and just not to go back on reclassification, but I am for a second. We've got one less
Then Texas.
classification than the state of Texas.
When you count the privates, 3 classifications, and our 6 in football on the public side, 9. So the other one that has more is Texas. So, I mean, and the coaches, here's the thing, the coaches wanted this.
Of course.
That's the thing about it, because when you start building all of these schools, a lot of these schools that were getting built were big schools, Siegel, your Blackmans. So you start inundated that top class. So they tried things like, you remember your top 32, where they took the top 32 and all of them made the playoffs? Well, you had one team that was 0-10 in East Tennessee having to come to Oakland to play a 10-0 Oakland team. Most of their team ended up quitting. I can't remember the school's name, but the TSSA turned around and punished that school for having to forfeit that game. And they didn't get to go to the playoffs in basketball that season because they refused to come play that game. So they got rid of that and went to 6 classifications. So now the gripe is, well, when you divide them 50, 50, 50, 50 in each classifications, you may have geography. These 4 teams are close. Geography, these 6 are close.
You're going to see that in a lot of sports this coming year.
Yes.
well, you think
You're gonna
Tennessee
see
is
that
strung
as well.
out as far as length? It's about 480 miles wide
Right.
from tip to corner.
Right.
Texas,
Oh,
1,400 miles.
It's
I
what-
mean, it's like half the country spread across. Think about traveling
do,
there.
Do they have? Does Texas have one state? They used to have an East and a West or a North and a South state champion. They didn't have
don't know.
just one.
I think they changed that up because I think a lot of those small schools still play 7-man football is what it's
Oh,
called,
that's big down there.
because of where their
Right.
location is. And so they went to a different classification system because of all that. But I think the frustrating part this time for a lot of schools is, for the first time in a long time, they divided East and West. And like you said, for a state that goes long, that's really hard.
Yeah.
You know, it may, for us, you know, now we went from a district where we're in Cannon County in basketball and baseball, and Grundy, which is a little bit of a drive. But now we're going Loretto and Summertown. And our
Which is a
region,
whole lot of drive.
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
region has a team, Decatur Riverside, which is 3 hours away. And then your sub-state is Millington.
So you went west.
They
They're
took
going
everybody
west.
west. And that's how, like, Shelbyville football went this way
They're gonna
instead
go-
of
they're going-
Murfreesboro.
I think they're
They
going
divided
west
it
next year
this
too.
way, up and down, and to this way.
Shelbyville football will go west next year because you
Yeah.
think we're
Yeah, we knew that part.
Ravenwood. Yeah,
What will it do to basketball and baseball?
same deal.
Same deal. They'll just, you know, divide your numbers with the 4 classifications
Right.
instead of the 6.
I think
Yeah.
when I looked at basketball and baseball, Shelbyville will be paired. I think Lincoln County's one of them. Coffee County's one. Warren County's one. Cookville is one. There's 5. There might be 6, but that's what that'll be.
Yeah, it depends on what classification in is where direction they push you. It's an odd way of doing it. Now, for some, it works out better, like shovel football. You stay away from Blackman, Riverdale, Oakland, for those guys.
But you
for
go,
us,
you travel through.
Yeah,
that
you gotta
area
go
to get
around,
to the
yeah.
next one.
and it's strange.
Is
It just-
Watertown with you guys also?
No, they stuck Watertown. You'll love this. There's a district that's Watertown, Macon County, DeKalb, Cannon. That's their new district. Now, they put also, let's see here. They put one school has a team that's in their district that's about 2 hours away. It's crazy the way it's done.
Sequatchie County still with you guys?
Football,
Football, they would
yes.
be.
I think the only thing happened with our football is you added Cascade and Forest because they come above the number, and you moved out Watertown in football.
Cannon went
And
out.
Giles.
didn't it?
And
Giles
Giles
stayed.
stayed.
And Grundy.
Giles stayed because Giles only has 10 through 12. They have a 9th grade academy.
Moved Grundy out too, didn't
Grundy went
they?
down.
They went down.
Grundy went
So
down.
that's how Giles County fits in 3A.
Yeah, they
10
only
through
count.
12.
Yeah, they're 10 through 12. Yeah,
That's interesting.
they have an advantage, and then you have the schools that are
I
7
think
through.
Lincoln's that same way.
Yeah, Lincoln's that same way.
Really,
They have
don't
a
stay
The
ninth
there.
problem too, I go back to these districts with 4 teams in them, where again the 0-10 thing comes up, where you could be 0-10 and conceivably make the playoffs.
It is frustrating. And same thing in basketball. If you got a 4-team
Right.
district, you're automatically in the region. And there's some years,
But I'm
you
gonna
don't want
tell
to be
you
in the
right
region.
now, Robbie, your basketball and stuff, your district, baseball, you're gonna have community, you're gonna have Forest, you're gonna have Cascade, you're gonna have Summertown and Loretta. Summertown, Loretta,
Mm.
Forest, community have all been in the state state, made it to the state in different sports.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now they're all going to be in the same district.
And then you add a region where you have Decatur Riverside.
And then you have a region where Decatur Riverside.
Okay, we got a comment here. Janie DeMumbrium says the Watertown moved to 3A. They're not 2A anymore for basketball, baseball, and softball.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the frustrating part about the baseball and softball part is we get classified with basketball. And it's really not fair because there are multiple schools out there that do not have baseball and softball programs.
But I think that's a little bit different though, Robbie, because they do one for football,
Mm-hmm.
but then they don't take those same schools and do them with basketball and baseball. For example, Cheville.
Mm-hmm.
Cheville will be in there with Warren and Cookville, but they're not in there with them in football.
They're not.
No.
But what they do is they put basketball with baseball and softball.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But-
Basketball, baseball.
But the
softball,
problem
yeah.
is you have your KIPS and those type schools
Yeah.
who have no baseball. For
Right.
example,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago,
Or softball.
Moore County and Eagleville, really good baseball teams. One year they had no baseball teams to play in the region.
Mm-hmm.
So the two made the district championship, decided, hey, we'll play our region final game over here, and they're not having to use pitching. And then one year there was just one team that played baseball. So they have with a pitch count rule in baseball, you have an advantage
Sure.
when you don't have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I got just a broad question about the classifications, your opinion. We need to move on and talk about some community sports.
Mhm.
But here's a question for you. Okay. We just saw this reshuffling of the deck after 2 years. Okay. Was it 3-year period this next time, or is it 2
No, it's
again?
4.
It's
Four.
four?
It has to
Okay.
be even numbers.
Okay, so let's just say
For
it's
home and
4.
aways.
You
Mhm.
start to develop rivalries now, and you're new, and then you shuffle the deck again,
Exactly.
and it's going to change.
Yeah.
Do y'all like the way it's being done?
No.
Just your
No.
overall
No.
thought on it.
No.
It's not good for your gate. It's not
It's
good
no-
for your travel. It's not good for your
Well,
fans.
here's the thing. I will say for the Gates, and we'll talk Cheville. We're in Cheville right now. Cheville's, Lincoln County, Coffee County, all those schools that aren't in their district now, they're not going to play them in football next year.
No,
They're
no.
not going to play them. So you're losing old Central.
Whatever we have
CTE.
coming in the gate, it's going to be Tullahoma, and then the
that's
rest
it.
of them, it's just going
Nobody
to
else
be
will
us.
play. Yeah,
That's
Mhm.
it. And same thing for them. We're not going to travel. I mean, we might take 2 or 3, 400 people to wherever we play, but that's it.
Yeah.
And those teams are suffering too, I'm sure. Except
But-
you get in Williamson County, it's close. But when you have 4 or 5 long travel teams coming in,
And I know
it's tough.
when I was at Cheville, Brentwood, we were in the same district with Brentwood once upon a time when I was
Yeah.
at Cheville.
Well, here's the frustrating part for us. I've been doing this 13 years now, getting old fast. Okay.
You are. No, you're not
One-
getting old. You'll never
Oh,
get
I'm getting old. We've had one team in the same district every year, and that's Forest. Every other year, we've had a completely different district. For 8 years, us and Cascade were in 2 different classifications because one of us was the lowest in 2A, and the other was the biggest in single A, and we flopped. Well, then they went to 4 classes. That kind of put us together now. And like you said, and here's the coaching part of it. So now you got to come up with a whole new set of bylaws. You got to come up with a whole new set of rules that
your
fit
district.
2 schools in Summertown, Loretto that are 2 hours away. They got to travel 3 times. So how you set that schedule up?
Mhm.
And then you're constantly redoing it. But to go back to the 4-year rule, after 2 years, the TSSAA reevaluates and looks at 20% bumps. So you take a school like Battle Creek.
If you're enrollment,
You know,
are they add that bump?
Are you looking at them right now in their number because they're about to add, 2
if
other
they,
classes?
If they increase by 20% or decrease
You have
by 20%,
you have to bump.
You can. But the thing about the bump is, you can only bump one classification.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You can't. That's where Nolensville, when they opened up, was in a district with us and Marshall and Magnet. Well, by the time we got to the end of it, you had us with an enrollment of 570 and them with an enrollment of 1,200. Still in our 2A district.
I want to throw something else out there to you that's missing in the classification, the reclassification, that I think makes an impact on the talent levels, and that's the culture of each region in our state. You look at Southern Middle Tennessee, we all have talent pools that don't change a whole lot from year to year. I can look at Sheffield Central High School and I say, man, we basically have the same demographics, the same outlay of talent. Maybe it's the same way at Community and Cascade, and then you go down to Lincoln County and just this Southern Middle Tennessee area. That's not taken into account when they start dividing these up. You shift over into Williamson County, it's different. You shift north up into Rutherford County, it's different talent. I mean, it's and you're throwing all these and mixing them up. It's not fair for a lot of these smaller regions, rural areas especially.
Yeah, rural areas. Just because your enrollment goes up doesn't mean your athletic talent goes up. That's a big misnomer.
I'll just go right out and say it, okay? And don't nobody want to say this, but our immigration situation has bloated a lot of smaller schools because you see some of these immigrant they just shift into the rural areas because they do farming type work and they have huge families. So that inflates your population in the school. You look at Bedford County schools and we've inflated tremendously over the last 10 years.
2 high schools probably most affected are Shelbyville and Warren County. Warren County's been really affected as well.
And that's a whole different outlay of demographics. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just a fact. And that's not taken into
But wasn't the reason to go to 6 classifications to take the schools with 2,000 kids and above and kind of put them together to keep somebody from having double the enrollment?
And also to let the Huntlands of the world of the Board counties be not having to play, a Cascade Community that has 500-600. Well, they have 200. Double their enrollment.
This year when they come up with it, they took the number for 6A and went down with that number to get to this magic number of 50. That's the part I didn't get. It wasn't the enrollment.
They're taking the total schools and divided by 6.
It was the number of schools. They didn't go by enrollment. They really didn't. They went by the number of schools and where can we make this fit.
And also in the past, they used to take the first 20 days of school for that year. And whatever number you reported to the state, that's what they went by. What I was told this year is they went by last year's numbers. Taking your average for the year to get a better look at where you are. But, like you said, that issue is huge. But also, if you look around Shelbyville,
you have to do something because a lot of these schools know how to manipulate their numbers.
Sure.
But guys, we could spend all night talking on this. We need to get some community.
Our local
all right.
kids.
Tell what's going on at Community High School. You got basketball season going wide open now. How are things going?
We're wide open, and I think most schools are wide open right now. And then, going back, I hate to harp on TSSAA again, but basketball's unfortunately that sport. We only get 2 weeks to practice before the season starts.
That's unreal.
And so it's kind of hard to get a gauge on anything. I think most coaches right now are mixing and matching, and a lot of schools don't even have their football guys back yet. And we're going into week 3-4 of the season here. So you're really not going to get a gauge on exactly what people are until you get to about the 2nd, 3rd week of January. Once your football guys, that's when it starts.
And most of the time, you don't even set your district up until that time.
Yeah, and
you don't play many district games until that time.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal. Is you want to make sure you get a lot of games under your belt before you play those games.
They still count on your win-loss records. They're basically like a scrimmage, though.
Yes,
because you've only had 2 weeks of practice. What's the reasoning behind having 2 weeks of practice? What is that?
We have no idea. I mean, it bumps up right with the end of the regular football season, and I guess the thought process that they're looking at is that, we'll just start basketball as football regular season ends, which makes no sense because baseball practice starts when you're in the middle month of your seasons.
And that logic don't play out because
No.
you got a lot of kids sitting around waiting that aren't playing football.
Right.
That would love to be practicing basketball with their team.
That's exactly right.
I mean,
and
I think
They
we
are
overthink things.
conditioning.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be conditioning, and there's rule out there where you can work with so many players, but that's not the same as having a 2-hour practice where you're
No.
be able to move pieces around. So right now, I mean, it's I'm really bad about I tell all my guys, I said, if you got a uniform on, you're playing. I'm not worried about the final score because these are just glorified scrimmages.
Yeah.
I need to find out if you can play or not.
And for basketball, I'm just saying that I never coached basketball, but they really don't count.
No.
That you're. It's not like in football where your overall record counts. In basketball, you're going to have your district. All of this means you can win every game in basketball.
Yeah, I get
and
all
go
that.
into the tournament.
I get all
and
that.
lay an egg and you're done.
I get all that, but back in the day, and to me, still having a 32-0 record would be awesome. I mean, and having like not 10 losses where 5 of them were like we don't even know what we're doing yet. I mean, I'd like to have wins because wins develop confidence. I mean, losses can get in some kids' heads. That's what you have to fight as a coach to get them over that.
And another, but again, I can say this from one that's coached, and you can schedule games for wins, but that don't make you better.
No.
You schedule games. A lot of times you schedule games knowing, hey, I might get beat this week, because when I get beat, my kids are going to wake up a little bit more. They're going to focus a little more. And you schedule those kind of games so whenever it gets tough in the tournament and so forth, you want to be ready for it.
It really depends on you have to know your
kids.
You have to know your team. You have to know if I've got a veteran team coming back and like you have a little bit older group, then you want to schedule accordingly. But if you've got a young group coming back, then you got to schedule accordingly there. But what's tough is you may have a girls program that has a lot of talent coming back and a boys program that's struggling. So trying to find those right matches for non-district
and you're having to do this. You're having to do this when regular season starts, and not getting as many scrimmages to where you're getting mulligans here. I mean, you're and then you line it up, and you got your fans that are going to come, parents that are going to come and watch, and you're having to play 10 or 12 kids just to figure out what your lineup's going to be. Let's talk about some scores, and I want you to tell us about how y'all have done, girls and boys, where you stand on, and give us some names of some kids that are standing out to you. Well, you just tell us your score so far.
You had like 3 games this week, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, we front loaded the first part of the boys' side of the schedule because I really wanted our guys to be off during Christmas, is to have that break. So Thanksgiving, we played at the Cornersville tournament. We played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We took Thursday off, and we played at Shelbyville on Friday, Saturday. And then on Monday, we played Eagleville at home. Tuesday, we went to Central Magnet, and then we had to move our Macon County game up because of their football playing the state championship. So they wanted to move that up, so which was fine. So we moved it up a day. So we played, it was 8 games there in about, less than a 10-day period or so.
Is that boys and girls, or is that just boys?
That was we played the extra 2 games at Shelbyville.
Okay.
So the girls played in the Cornersville Classic and 3 games this last week. So we really loaded up.
I find that going on a little bit more because of the busing situation.
Yeah, and that was another reason we did it. But also, too, is we scheduled a very diverse type schedule. We wanted to kind of hit everything. So we started with Fayetteville City, who is very athletic, right? No, they get up and down. They're well coached. They got a new coach this year who I coached against years ago. I tell you, when you start coaching against guys that that are coaching now and you played, that's what makes you feel old. So we went Fayetteville there. Then we scheduled to go to Santa Fe. And if you ever played at Santa Fe in that small gym, they've got a really good Mr. Basketball guy who takes a quantity of their shots and is hard to defend. And so our guys got a good taste of.
Is the theater stage still on one end of the floor?
They took that, made it to the student section. Okay. So it's not there anymore, but it's still got that same old school type, feel to it. So then the Cornersville tournament, we played a bunch of different groups, come up to Shelbyville, played in a bigger gym, bigger atmosphere. Then we played Eagleville, who we always play, because like you said, keeping those old rivalries and the gates and those things. But the Eagleville boys, maybe the best basketball
They're pretty
team
good,
I've
aren't
seen
they?
in a long,
Pretty good.
long time.
They
I,
play Eagle and Cascade play Tuesday.
I have no idea what they shot from the floor, but it had to be somewhere between 70 to 80%.
Wow.
And they kept running guys out there. And Coach McLaren does a great job. And at halftime, I could tell, I told my guys, I said, look, if we don't start doing some different things here, they're going to get 100 in your own gym. But Coach McLaren, a class act, he kind of subbed some guys in and he saw what I was doing. So that score could have been whatever he wanted. They are that good.
Their middle school's the same way.
Goodness gracious. They
Their
are
middle school's the same
they
way.
are a machine. But it's one of those things too, that they're all in the same building.
Mhm.
You got your middle school program in the same building with your high school program. They're all doing the same thing, and it's just boom, 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 boom. But Central Magnet is a tough place to play. We played them Tuesday night. And then we went up to Macon County. We wanted to give them a long road trip. Here's what it'd be like if you have to go to York to play in a subset game. Okay, kind of give us a taste of a little bit of everything. So we've done okay. We've won more than we've lost.
What's your
So,
strengths right now? You feel what do you see?
depth. It's a couple years ago we went through a pretty tough season once we graduated all those guys off the 32-2 team and the state tournament team after. So we had a lot of guys of inexperienced. So the last couple of years been playing a lot of young kids who are now juniors and seniors. So we go about 10 deep with not a lot of drop off. We could play fast. We could play slow. We can pretty much mix and match. We're bigger than we've ever been. We start one that's around 6'5", shooting guard, Landon Lavorne. And then we got a couple of young kids, freshmen, who go 6'3", 6'4", across the board. So we're a little bigger than we have been. We've got a pretty good post game. I mean, now the game is mostly behind the 3-point line. And so we're the odd duckling. We don't do that.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Me too.
I've heard philosophies behind this. Coaches will say, well, we shoot it before we turn it over. Well, to me, that's saying we need to work on our ball handling.
Exactly.
Right,
You can't handle the ball.
We need to work on our ball handling.
Well, let me ask you this: Are you primarily you play any zone on defense, or you man to man full time?
We are a zone team.
Awesome.
We run the old.
You're old school.
We're old school. We run the old Syracuse matchup 2-3 zone with a little bit different wiggles to it, and it's something that we teach, and it's kind of just our culture. We will play some man, but year in, year out, we just don't have the athletes to win the big games playing man to man. Like when we were in the sub-state with East Nashville, had we played them man to man, it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
But because of our zone, and a lot of these teams, when they get to us, don't know how to attack
That's
the zone.
right.
Exactly.
That's
They have
the
no
advantage.
idea.
They have no
idea.
They don't scrimmage against it. They have no clue.
East Nashville in the first sub-state game was just so shocked that they didn't know what to do. So they were taking the first three they got,
Yeah.
and they were spreading the floor. They were trying to get in gaps like it was a one-on-one, and when everybody's shifting, they didn't know what to do.
Somebody in your face all the time.
Yeah.
Man.
So when it's ran correctly and you have the right pieces, now the only problem is you run into a blocking out problem where you get guys rolling to be like birds under a basket. They want to just run to the basket instead of getting to your gaps to rebound, and your guards want to run out instead of blocking out. So it's a process to teach, but we're mostly zone. We'll do a lot of zone. We will do some man, but only when we have to. Only when we have to. If we're behind, you got to play man.
Yeah.
You can't play zone. So, but we're in a good spot right now. I mean, we're so deep
Age wise,
we've got 5 seniors. We've got 3 that start on a consistent basis. We got a nice little junior class. Our sophomore class has 3 or 4 guys who are very talented, and we've got a freshman group that, if they grow into their feet, could be the biggest team I've ever had. I've got Coach Misty Thompson's son, Maddox. She played Vanderbilt, and then you got Troy. So he is a big, tall, good-looking athlete, and you could tell that if he keeps growing.
so you're playing a lot of JV games.
Ton of JV games. For us, JV games are huge because we treat them like varsity games. We tell our guys, this is your varsity
This
game.
is your game. This is your
Yes,
game.
this is, and here's the thing for you guys that pull double duty. If I go out and see you make 2 or 3 threes in a JV game, there's a good chance that maybe I throw you out there for 2 minutes in a varsity game.
Yeah.
So it depends on your philosophy as a coach. Like you said, winning's important. creating that culture of winning is a habit. Also, losing is that habit too.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends. Some coaches like that. Hey, I'm going to go get 20 wins or whatever. For me, it's okay. Let's compete. As long as you're competing and playing hard for 32 minutes, then we'll start scouting and we'll start, getting into things that we need to do to prepare to win the games that matter. Uh, I know that we've been to 4 sub-states, and 2 of those sub-states, we barely had winning records. I think the first one we were 15-18, just because we played a lot of guys trying to get depth built up, and you take some losses sometimes. So
It's a sacrifice.
it's a sacrifice, and it just kind of you got to know your team. You got to know
Depends
your
on
team.
what stage your program's in.
Yes,
too.
it depends on what stage you're in. You got to know what the pieces that you've got. Some schools are in situations where they have a lot of football players that are important to the basketball program. So when they get to you, if they're, say, Macon County, for example, we play them again next Friday. Well, they're going to be better than when we played them before, but these kids have played, 13 football games? They're physically going to be beat up, and basketball conditioning is not football conditioning. It's a completely different thing.
Totally different.
So, Coach Owens, it'll take till January for them to be a different team than they are now. So, you just got to know. You got to know your school, your situation, what you're going into. So,
Give us some names.
Landon Lavorne is I think if you ask all of our guys,
Big tall blonde head guy
Yes.
played for you last year.
yes, I had his brother Stratton, and they're the same, but they're different. Is when Stratton was a part of those really good teams we had, he was really good at what he did. Now he's grown a few more inches, got in that weight room, and he's a really good college player. Landon has had to carry more of the load at a younger age based upon what we had around him. But now we've developed enough to go with him that he doesn't have to do as much. We have Austin Stickler is our center. He's a load now. He's 6'1", 6'2", but he plays bigger than that. Long arms, wingspan, knows how to post. Very physical kid. Landon Berman is our other senior. He is that story that all the coaches love. He's that kid that when he was a freshman, he's down here on the end of the bench in the depth chart. Sophomore year, he grows a little bit.
He's your Michael Jordan.
You look at him and you say, hey, buddy, if you get in the weight room and you get a little stronger and you keep working, by the time you get to this, you're going to play. And that last year, he spent all that time in the weight room. Now he's playing. Now he's in rotation. Well, now he's one of our leaders. He is one of the guys that everybody looks at. You look at him and go, oh, that kid's in the weight room. Mm-hmm. And you love those kids. You love those stories of guys that say, oh, yeah, coach said if I work really hard, I can do this. In a world of transfer portal and NIL and, hey, I'm not happy, so I'm going to go to this school, which is coming next year, I hear, in high school, this one-time transfer rule.
Man, we're teaching our kids the wrong thing.
It's the wrong thing.
Sure we are.
It's the wrong thing. And I get, you get frustrated because somebody is playing, over you a little bit.
That's kind of like a life lesson.
Not everybody's, and that's what, it's sad a little bit, but we've created this whole thing of where everybody's a winner.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get to the real world, if there's 10 jobs at Nissan being hired for and 100 people apply, well, 90 people are going to lose.
Yeah.
So if you don't teach kids how to handle when it doesn't go your way, what
Yeah.
are we really teaching them?
Hey, Paige was a winner till last night.
Exactly. I mean,
they lost.
And they lost. I mean, you're the state runner-up. Does that mean it was a terrible season?
Nope.
No.
But you lost.
It does.
And you got to deal with that.
You got to deal.
We're not. It's frustrating to see how this is our pro athletics has filtered all the way down now into the high school level.
It has.
And
it has.
High school to me has always been the purest form in all the sports.
Yeah.
Kids are playing it because they love it.
And it's really, truly the only thing that we have left in high school sports where at the end of the day, there's a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, because
like you said, that's life.
It's
life.
life.
If somebody's winning, there's a bunch of people losing for every one.
This week, every one of us are going to get our rear ends kicked about something this week.
Right.
Somehow, and we got to be able to deal with it.
Yes.
Guys, we have already gone 35 minutes, and we got a lot to talk about. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk. Kenny, you got some stuff about some other high school sports, then we're going to jump into college football and basketball real quick. Robbie, thanks for telling us a little bit about what's
Absolutely,
going on
yeah.
and giving us your insight on
Yeah.
things. Let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, First Bank of Shelbyville and Kincaid
Service
Company.
where service is their middle name.
Kincaid Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
All right, welcome back into Bedford County Sports Talk Live. We still have a little high school sports to talk about. I know, Kenny, you got some stuff you want to talk about wrestling.
And talk about wrestling and the Cascade girls basketball. They went to Fayetteville last night and got beat 68-66. But what's interested me so much about that is Cascade had 5 girls. Caroline Parker had 14 points. Sophie Ray had 12 points. Lizzie Keel had 12 points. Kaysen Miller had 12 points. And Keegan Young had 12 points. Pretty good distribution.
Yeah, very good.
And I went and watched them Tuesday. They played Moore County. And I thought they played more. They got beat by 23, but I thought the game was
closer.
Was closer. Moore County girls went to the state last year.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Spencer Chad is he's got all his girls back. Didn't lose anybody. And then there's a young lady that played basketball in Alabama, whose dad is a coach at UAH. Her mother played at Moore County. Grandmother's got some health issues, so she's moved back. She's a junior, has already scored 1,000 points. So they've played some pretty good competition, and they're going to be better. And then I ran into Coach Gill at church, and I said, hey, give us a little bit, let me know a little bit about wrestling. Well, Cascade's in its 8th year of wrestling. They're 5 wins away from having 100 wins. This is the first year, he said, he's able to fill all 14 wrestling spots. However, 7 or 8 of them may be filled with freshmen. And when I looked at his roster, he's given me 15 kids. 8 of them are freshmen. 8 of them pretty good. One of them's undefeated, 7-0. And then he's got a young man, Vaden Moore, who's a senior. He only has 2 seniors. Vaden Moore is senior, who's number 1 in the state right now in his classification. He's undefeated. He finished 3rd in the state last year. His brother, Briston Moore, is a sophomore. He went to the state last year. And Coach's son, Trenton Gill, is a junior, and he went to the state last year. But, I talked to him. It looks like some pretty good things going on. Like I said, he's able to, of course, he's young, so we all know what young means. They're wrestling, but he's got it going pretty good at Cascade.
Awesome. All right. And Bill, you got some scores from Shelbyville Central we didn't go over. I know they played Siegel, the girls. Then they win.
I went
and the
to
boys,
that game last night.
The boys lost.
Shelbyville girls look pretty good.
Yeah.
They're
what else you
athletic.
got?
Shelbyville, last week they had the big win up there, 71-58 over Franklin County. It's been a tough week for them. They lost to Summit 60-58, and they lost to Tullahoma 60-41. But that Tullahoma game, they told me, was closer than what it appeared. For some reason, we couldn't hit a free throw.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, we scrimmaged Tullahoma. Tullahoma's a real deal. They're big and they're athletic. Let me just say something about the Shelbyville boys. I know it's been a struggle for some years on the boys' side, but let me tell you, I sat and watched about a half of one of their games there, and they are defending. Coach has got them playing on both ends of the floor. So Shelbyville fans really need to go buy a ticket and watch these guys play.
And Coach Young played about 14
Yes.
kids last night.
Yes, he's doing
And
what I do.
They come off a bench and they're
Yes.
getting there.
The trend over the years has been offense first, defense is the
Yes.
afterthought, but you're gonna win when you play defense
You're right.
and
Right.
create
Defense
offense
is
off your
always going
defense.
to be
And that's
consistent.
And these kids are playing hard. They're communicating, and they're doing the little things. I saw there was a foul. Kid, I don't think it was a foul on the shovel kid, but he took the ball. He said, "Yes, sir," handed the ball to the official. That tells you
Yep.
the program is going
Right.
in
That's
the
what
right
you gotta-
direction.
that's
exactly
where you
right.
gotta build.
Exactly
So
right.
You gotta
That's
build
not
it.
where we were 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
No,
that's
that
good.
ball might
No.
hit the ceiling
No.
or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's another story.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears now and talk some college football playoff situations.
Your college
And-
football going on right now?
There's a little bit, yeah.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Now, if you talk to the people putting people in the playoffs, that these games just don't matter, even
Yeah.
though they're part of the schedule.
Right.
Mhm.
They don't.
I heard the guy when they came out with this. He's on the committee, and he said, no matter what happens today, it's not going to change anything.
That's
Did
nonsense.
you hear that too?
See,
That's
Bill,
nonsense.
It's
David-
nonsense.
Nonsense.
David made a comment all year long that there's going to be an SEC team that's in the SEC championship that's got 2 losses, and if they lose in the championship game, they'll have 3 losses. Will that knock them out of the playoffs?
It won't.
And I said it shouldn't, but it very well could happen
It could.
because Georgia's in that shape.
I think Georgia stays and Alabama that's sitting on the bubble, they'll ease out.
Well, I'm
Even,
gonna tell you,
even
Especially
with
if
the
Clemson beats
yeah,
SMU,
yeah.
I think Bama's out then.
But
But
are they?
Here's the
Are they
problem.
in? If either way, are they in?
If
My
SMU
question.
and Boise won last night, how in the world are they getting the bye?
I don't know.
I hate that bye rule.
that
The bye rule makes
how?
no sense.
Listen, here's the thing: when they made these rules, they're trying to please everybody, and they thought, well, we're going to 12, we're going to satisfy. No, what you're doing when you went to 12, you're gonna make more people mad than you did when you was just at 4, because now there's about 12 or 14 teams that think they need to be in 11 or 12.
But let's back up.
But
just
the
for a second.
conferences aren't the same.
Yeah, you're
The
right. They're not equal.
difficulties
They're not equal.
aren't the same. You tell me somebody in the ACC or whatever the conference is that Boise State's playing in,
Mountain
you
West.
put
Mountain
all
West.
of them in the SEC or the Big Ten, they're going to have. But no, they're not the same.
But guys, here's the thing.
you got
Last year there were 6 opportunities. Four opportunities, and then they had the little whatever, the major bowl thing. But there's 12 opportunities for our favorite team to make the playoffs now.
Mm-hmm.
We screamed for it. We got it.
Yeah.
They're going to make a mistake this year, but they're going to have to correct it.
Yeah.
Do you want the 12 best teams playing, or do you want the 12 best records playing? That's been an argument. And I say that you could have 5 teams from the SEC go in there, pick 3 out of any of those 5, and they're gonna win ball games. I wouldn't want to play South Carolina right now, would y'all?
I don't think, and I think there's a lot of people that's going to be one of those 12 that wouldn't want to play them either.
Yes.
I think the frustrating part too is that they haven't been forthcoming with, okay, here's our criteria.
Nobody
No,
knows.
they don't have
They
rules.
Head to head should be most important,
Yep.
and then work your way down. But to discount the championship games, you left that as part of the schedule for the conferences. It's okay. You get to the SEC basketball tournament. How many teams have lost 1 seeds because they got upset in the first round of the
Yep.
SEC tournament, or they get moved around?
And I wonder
or
now
you
if some of these
improve?
teams care about the tournament. If you really think about
Yeah.
some of the years in the SEC in basketball,
Oh, yeah.
especially, you can see coaches they don't really care about that tournament. If they are, they're worried about the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Why play the extra games and the wear and tear?
Mhm.
My
Okay.
opinion is if you're going to load these conferences up where you're not going to have a Tennessee that's going to play a Texas, to where you got a true, well, who should be in this game? Get rid of the championship games.
I agree.
Get rid of them. Expand it to 16. Take 4 regions. Okay, here's your top number 1, your top 4 teams. Bring back the BCS computer. Let that strength of schedule.
You're still going to have people,
Boom.
Robbie. You're still going to
Well,
have
I'd rather
people.
argue over who's number 17 and 16 than who's number 4.
Explain this one. Georgia goes to Ole Miss on the road and gets beat.
Yeah.
The line was what, 3.5? I think Todd Bobo line was on that one.
Yeah.
They dropped from 3 all the way to like 11.
Yeah.
Ohio State's playing at home against a bad Michigan team and a 21.5-point favorite, and they lose and they drop 3 places. Can
You
somebody
dropped it.
explain that to me?
That's north.
And you're holding it against a Tennessee for not winning with style points right now. Even though, you lost to Arkansas. Okay. At that time, Arkansas was not losing games like they were losing at
And it was on the road.
They're still going to a bowl, aren't they? Arkansas? Yeah.
And it was on the road.
And it was on the road.
Ohio
State
State lost at home.
Ohio State was at home.
At home, a 21-point underdog.
Penn State, this team would champion. I think they're going to get beat pretty good by Oregon, but the only win is over a top 25 team is Illinois. That's their only signature win of the season.
And
They
then
hadn't played but two of them.
And then you add
They
Indiana.
hadn't played but two of them. They only played with
All
them in
right,
Ohio State.
all right. Since we're talking about this, let's just get right down to the bottom line on this. I want you to pick a winner. Who's going to win the national championship? Don't even talk about who's going to make it, who's not. Who's going to be standing at the end? Who's going to win it?
Let me tell you, I think my team, Alabama, has got as good a chance as anybody.
So are you
but they
picking
got to get
Alabama?
in. But they got to
Are
get
you
in.
picking Alabama to win the national championship?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Oregon because I think they're
I think that team right there has got as good a chance to win the national championship as anybody.
I think it depends on it goes to seeding. If you have a Tennessee as an 8 hosting an Indiana instead of having to go to an Ohio State,
they can
that's
play
a
with
different.
anybody. They can play with anybody anywhere.
So you're picking.
We're different at home than we are.
Yeah, we are.
I say,
all right, who are you picking?
I'm going to have to go with Oregon. I think they're the best team in the country right now.
Okay. I'm going to go out on them. I'm going to say Texas.
See, I think Texas is going to lose today.
I do too.
You know?
I think
the experience.
And I'll tell you what, Georgia could very well win it all.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
See,
surprise
this
me
is
at
the
all.
argument you
That's the
have right
thing.
here. You try to pick somebody, you can't hardly.
Yeah.
And that's
All right, that's the reason we're having a
why?
playoff.
That's why NIL. That's where NIL
transfer portal.
Guys,
Gotcha.
I would love to shift into some basketball, but we are out of time. We're gonna have to talk
Well, let's do
basketball.
mention the one thing:
Tennessee.
the University of Tennessee is 8-0 and fixing to be the #1 team in America this week.
I
Yes,
believe
they
you're
are.
correct.
And I think that's more because it's not like we've beaten a lot of really top tier teams early. I think that's what Barnes has established at Tennessee. That culture, that dominance that we've had in this conference. You're the best team in SEC. You replace Kentucky. I mean,
I'll tell you this, the job he's done in the transfer portal, either he's identifying these guys at a record rate or he's got a coach doing it for him.
his staff
He's
is
not missing.
unbelievable.
He's not missing on them.
They've got
Best-
people back there in the back.
Hey,
doing that kind of
best
stuff.
transfer portal he ever made was Dalton Connect. And look
Absolutely.
at what he's doing. Rookie of the year, guys.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not so sure this Lanier kid that he brought in is not
Yeah,
fixing
I
to be
know,
pretty
I
special,
know.
too.
I
And
know
the other
he's gonna
kid,
be
Miller,
good.
whatever
Yeah.
his name
Yeah.
is.
They got people back there that get paid to do it.
All right, guys, we got to wind this thing down and get out of here.
Well, let's tell
Robbie
them what
Davis.
you're doing today.
Oh yeah, we got Christmas parade today.
Forget about that.
We're gonna start. We're gonna start live streaming at 3:45. Tina Corley and Neil Gordon will be hosting that. So
You're not hosting?
no, I'm gonna sit back and watch the pros do it, man.
You know,
They're
this-
awesome.
This
Oh,
time
yeah.
last week, I'm driving back home from Green Bay. Listen to the program.
But we're gonna do that 3:45, and then
We'll be down at the Animal Hospital.
at the Animal Hospital right there on North Main Street. We're gonna have hopefully high definition this year, and
I think we can make that work, Dave.
we're gonna make it work. But guys, thanks for watching again. Robbie Davis, thanks for sitting down.
Yes,
Please
sir.
come back a
Absolutely.
lot more often because this is
Absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely.
We love having you.
Just Bill, text me.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you again next week. Have a